Hi there, Freedom Nation. Coach Peter Pocklington here. Let me ask you one simple question. How can you win the money game if no one is teaching you the rules? You can't, right? Well, today we are going to share with you one of the most important rules of finance. And who better to share it than my financial freedom coach, John Lavin of Primerica. Take it away, John.
You know, at Primerica, we're always talking to people about the magic of compound interest and time and consistency. And when you talk about the magic of compound interest, the most obvious rule to talk about is the rule of 72. Sometimes it's known as the banker's rule. And I'll ask people, I say, do you know the rule? Have you ever heard of the rule of 72? And they'll go, no. Well, so, this is the magic of compound interest. Let's use an example here. Let's just say for a second, let's pretend for a minute you were 19 years old, and we gave you $10,000, okay? And you had that $10,000, and you had to save that $10,000 until you were 67 years old, 48 years later. How much would if you put the $10,000 in, let's say you average 3%, what would that grow to over the next 48 years? What would you have at age 67, all right? And when you ask that question, most people, they'll kind of think a little bit, you know. They have no idea. Now, I always cover up the numbers, or if you're writing it out, no problem. But I'll cover up the numbers, and then I'll ask them the question, what do you think you'd have? And then soon after they start thinking, I'll say, you know, it's not really a fair question, because we've never been taught how to figure that out. But there's a rule called the rule of 72s that would help us. But what would you guess? And they'll give you some guess, or if they don't make it uncomfortable, but give them the answer, all right? So here's what the rule says. It says if you take your interest rate and divide that rate into the number 72, whatever you get is the number of years it takes money to double. So at 3%, let's say you put your money in a bank. Let's assume for a moment the bank was paying 3%. What would that grow to? It would double every 24 years. So your $10,000 is going to double in 24 years to $20,000. So, and then in another 24 years at age 67, you're going to have $40,000. Is that exciting? Usually not. Okay, now here's the question. If you double the interest from 3 to 6, you double the interest, so you go from 3 to 6, what do you think would happen to the money? What do you think you're going to have here at age 67 if you doubled the interest? And most people will say 80,000. Exactly, but let's take a look at what the rule says. The rule says at 6%, your money doubles every 12 years. So now you're going to have 6,000, you're going to have 20,000 at age 31, you're going to have 40,000 at age 43, you're going to have 80,000 at age 55, and you're going to have 160,000 at age 67. So you doubled the interest, but your money quadrupled. Now let's assume for a moment you were able to average 12%. Now, I know you can't get 12% interest, but you could have averaged anywhere from about 10 to 12% over the last 50 years in good quality mutual funds. And by the way, when you give your money to a bank, or you give your money, let's say you go and deposit your money at the bank, what interest rate are they giving you today? Very low, right? What do they do with the money when you give it to them?